Hey, I am back. Happy New Year. It's Og For those who have never seen this channel before, it is Og and just say AJ. It's easier. So this here channel is a bit different. I know there are lots of channels out there about mental health and behavioral health, mental illness, and all of that. Mine is just a tad bit different in that I have some education vids coming. I have some coping vids. Sometimes I get goofy with the comedy, with the sketches and different things. If it looks like I'm cold, I am. So that's what I do as a mental health advocate. I know culturally it's not something black folks like to talk about, but me, loud and proud, I don't mind. Hopefully it helps someone else. So Happy New Year. I have something that is working my last nerve, and I really want to discuss it with y'all. I just saw it in the news 3 days ago, something like that. So I want to go over that, but this is the first time that you've seen the channel. Put it like this: if you can't agree to disagree, or if you're not here just maybe to learn some things that you had not considered, bye-bye. Find another channel, please. I don't need the hate. I don't need the hate mail. It's insensitive. We're all adults, hopefully, and even for the kids. I've got a couple of kids that have subscribed. Thank you. Hey, we got to start small. So there's this little small town called Boiling Springs Lakes, North Carolina, and I'm going to give you the, I'll put the link in the description box. I saw some things on CNN, and what bothers me, it's another one of those cops murdered a mentally ill teenager stories once again. Why is every precinct on the planet aspiring to be LAPD? I don't know. They're already in hot water again for shooting a man with schizophrenia. What is it lately? A man with schizophrenia last month, sometime before Christmas, in the back 15 times. Really, y'all? Really? Okay, so I'll go through this one really quickly. This one is the CNN article. Police group detective who fatally shot mentally ill teen acted justly. Really? Okay, so basically what you have here in Boiling Springs Lakes, North Carolina, and that's down there near the water with those fishing yacht towns. They make money off of the tourists and off of the lakes and the campsites and crab legs and bed and breakfast and all that. That's where that is, outside of Wilmington, Southport, those places. So here you have an 18-year-old teen at home with his parents, his dad and his stepmom. He was having an episode, as they say. He wasn't taking meds. He didn't want to take meds. His brother said that he was recently diagnosed with schizophrenia. Very important in all of this, because usually when you're first diagnosed, you're not sure which meds work for you. I'll also upload in the description box there's a link here where his brother addresses the public and thanks folks for their donations for the funerals and all of that. But it's important that he said he was recently diagnosed. And he also said that, you know what, you don't just get a pill and you go off to the doctors or from the doctors and you're fine. Oh, God, that's the God's honest truth. Because they're trying to figure out exactly what's wrong, what would suit your needs best. There's not just this blanket, oh, you're bipolar, you're schizo, you're this. You have a pill for each of them, and then you're fine. Not so. More than likely, it doesn't say how long he's been diagnosed, but okay, more than likely he has, he's probably had side effects. Things weren't working for him. He didn't want to take it. He grabbed a screwdriver, whether it was a screwdriver, a number 2 pencil, or Twinkie. He grabbed something. He's already erratic. His father calls 911, as you see here, and he said, hey, we need some help. Can you send an officer over? My son is off his medication. He actually said at the end of the interview, my son was having a bad day. Now, your bad day and my bad day would be two totally different things. But by that, he meant his son was rattled. He was erratic. He was combative. And he said, he's not doing very good. You have to get him to some place. He's my stepson. He wants to fight his mother. She's scared to death of him right now. So, of course, cops are going to build that up just to be, have a violent reputation for this kid. And his brother saying, he's not violent. He has never hurt anyone. He was off his meds. He was having an episode. He wasn't thinking rationally. And long story short, they called the cops. Cops have come to this home before. Okay. They said, can you just help restrain him? He's fighting all of us. Can you help restrain him so he can get the help that he needs? He needs to go to, like a stabilization unit or something. Before anyone says, well, if he had a screwdriver and, it was justified. And then if he wasn't dangerous, why are the cops called? Understand, Jesus. Especially in this country with how our behavioral health system works, it is very, very, very common to call the cops first. Especially somebody's, fighting and not functioning normally, and in this case he had something in his hand. It's very common, to call the cops first and to say, okay, can you help restrain him? Please take him to somewhere where he can get some help. That's what was going on. Now, here's where cops really shoot themselves in the foot. Not the first two that showed up, but the detective that murdered him. Cops had already come to the house before. They've answered and responded to this call several times. Unfortunately, Keith had to be tased in order to calm down. But the point is, long story short, according to the mom, it was his stepmother and his father, and his stepbrother was there. They had no qualms. End quote. We had no qualms with how the first two law enforcement officers responded from Boiling Springs Lake, and the other from a Brunswick County Sheriff's Department. They, they tased him. They had him in handcuffs. He was already down when officer number 3 decides to show up. He just gets there. Everything is kind of chaotic a bit, but the point is, the boy is down on his parents' living room floor. According to his father, Detective so-and-so walks in there, says, I don't have time for this, and shoots the child. Somebody, please explain to me, since the police group that the title of the article is referring to, the North Carolina Police Benevolence Association, how about you all change that name? I'm just saying. The North Carolina Police Benevolent Association. Wow. They investigate these sorts of things. They came back with a conclusion and their own version of the story in 3 days. 3 days after Keith was killed, and said police acted justifiably. Why? Because the detective decided to say, well, when I got there, we repeatedly asked him to put the screwdriver down, and I felt like my officers and I were in danger. So that's when I fired. Okay, if everyone can agree that this child was tased, we all got that. If everyone can, which means when you're tased, you kind of fall down. Unless somehow you just have the mighty magic morphin power to still remain standing with a screwdriver in your hand, lunging at cops. Okay, if we can all agree that 2 officers got there before you, they're going on and on about 1 minute and 10 seconds. How long does it take to tase someone? Or 70 seconds. 6 of one, half a dozen of another. If we can all agree that that child was tased, and 2 officers were there before you, I want somebody to really explain to me how the other cops and himself, how are your lives in danger? I don't get that one. I'm not understanding. But what I can believe is the barbaric act of someone just hearing that there's a mentally ill person involved and potentially, dangerous to themselves and other people. So why don't we just go in there like I was trained to do at the academy? Dispose of the situation, this societal defect that we are, and then ask questions later. So now you have a cover-up. I just can't get over 3 days. 3? Really? Wow. That's some pretty quick, incisive analysis there. No deep probing, thorough investigation. 3rd and 4th grade coloring projects take longer than 3 days. I'm not understanding that when it's a slap in the face to this family. So you have murder, a fatality at the hands of one of your detectives. Okay, you have murder. You have conspiracy now, deadly force, excessive everything. You have abuse of authority, and before long, a wrongful death suit on your hands. I can guarantee that. And you managed to investigate all of that in 3 days. Wow. They must do things pretty quickly down there in those sea and lake and campfire towns. 3 days. I wonder how many seconds it took for old detective to get himself an attorney. Each and every last one of them have one. But the sad thing is, now the other two officers is going to have to go along with his story as well. They're not going to turn on each other. That daggone blue wall. Here we go again. This does not make sense. And then they say, well, the officers were all wearing bulletproof vests. That's what saved their lives. Okay. If we want to go back to the title, just for sheer numbers alone, humor me. Detective who fatally shot mentally ill teen acted justly. Boy's brother, this is the caption underneath. Why shoot a 90-pound kid? Okay, you have 2 officers first, and then another one, which makes 3 officers, 3 bulletproof vests, 3 loaded weapons on ready. You have a 90-pound child who is erratic, off meds, and who's waving a screwdriver. Okay, I don't understand any of it.